years of service to this state and country in the military, the field of education, and public service, I have never, ever seen citizens denied access to their government like I saw on Tuesday, February 22nd, here at the Ohio Statehouse. Thousands of citizens, teachers, firefighters, and police officers were denied the right to enter the Statehouse and voice their concerns about a bill that would have far-reaching effects on their families and communities. Over the last few days, we have been gathering facts and trying to understand why good, tax-paying Ohio citizens were locked out of the most important public building in our state, the Ohio Statehouse. There are so many unanswered questions, but this much is clear. Individuals in this government made calculated decisions to limit speech, deny access, and prevent individual citizens who opposed Senate Bill 5 from voicing their concerns. Today we are announcing that we are filing a suit in the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas to ensure that if citizens are locked out of the Statehouse again, we can move quickly to get a temporary restraining order and open up the doors of the Statehouse to the citizens of Ohio. Let me be clear, the decisions made to limit access to the middle class, families, those that oppose Senate Bill 5 had very little to do with safety. We would never advocate packing the Statehouse beyond its capacity and creating a situation that is unsafe for citizens, law enforcement, or anyone else. According to the state fire marshal, the total occupancy limit to this building is 5,000. However, someone made a decision to only allow approximately 700 citizens into the atrium and the rotunda. Only after negotiating with State Highway Patrol were we able to get 500 more people into the building. The negotiating we did. In fact, I asked them to arrest me if they weren't going to negotiate and get something done. This decision meant that there was room in the Statehouse for an additional 3,000 people, but someone decided not to let them in. Public Safety Director Tom Charles, who recently was appointed by Republican Governor John Kasich, claims that he made the call to lock the doors and only let in 700 people. Perhaps. But it is extremely unclear who has jurisdiction over the various spaces within this building. The Capitol Square Review Advisory Board has jurisdiction over some parts of the building, like the atrium and the rotunda, but the Senate President and the House Speaker have jurisdiction over the other areas, such as the committee rooms and one that we're in today, the hallways and other open spaces throughout this building. These areas combine and hold over 3,000 people. In the early Tuesday afternoon, we know that the head of security was meeting in the Senate President's office to discuss whether or not to open up the doors. After many contentious efforts by myself and my colleagues, yet the Director of Public Safety claims that the decision to deny access was his alone. This doesn't make sense. If this was Tom Charles' call, why would the head of security be meeting with the Senate President during the most heated point of this lockout, and why? Who determined who got into the committee room? We've heard reports that staffers were not being let into the committee room, and some citizens that were in the building were not allowed into the committee room. Most troubling about this is that people were being denied access to the committee while seats in the room were empty. Why? Lastly, we know that the audio for the committee was played throughout the Statehouse, but why not let the Ohio government channel film the committee and put it online for citizens to review? There's no prohibition to recording committees. In fact, filming committees is a decision that the chair of the committee can make. But again, a decision was made not to film this committee, thus making it more difficult for citizens to participate. Why? On Tuesday, I helped for more than 6 hours, and I felt like I was back in my military mode. Retirees who needed to get water to take their medication, they needed food most of the time to take their medication. Mothers with children, strollers, who needed to use the restroom, and others who needed access to the building. I worked in the State House for more than 6 hours. I want to repeat that. We had to help people get in this building to their government. And that's why I want to find out what really happened that day. And I want to prevent it from ever happening again. Who decided to limit access to the building? By whom and how were these decisions made? To answer the questions, we need the discovery process available through this lawsuit. The suit we will be filing gives us the ability to do two things. First, it will allow us to move more quickly if similar actions are taken to deny access to the State House again. We do not want to pack the State House to the point where it's beyond capacity or unsafe. We are simply asking that the tax-paying citizens of Ohio have a right to enter the building and participate in the democratic process. Second, filing this lawsuit will give us the ability to enter into the discovery process and find out who made the decisions to limit public access to the State House and the committee room. To date, we have been given conflicting stories about who made the decisions, why they were made, a lot of finger pointing going different ways. And my instincts tell me through my last 10 years that usually they're trying to hide something. Safety could not have been the only concern because, as I mentioned earlier, the building holds 5,000 people, but only 700 were originally let in. What we do know is that every person that has decision-making authority in this matter is a Republican. The Republican committee chair, the Republican Senate president, the Republican House Speaker, the Republican appointed public safety director, and the Republican governor. Those who are seeking to make their voice heard were individuals who oppose the Republican-backed Senate Bill 5. By itself, it is wrong to deny citizens access to the State House. But if the decisions to shut people out of their democratic process was made for partisan reasons, it would be much, much worse. So with that, I want to provide opportunity for the folks who were denied access. And it was heartbreaking to see this. And boy, when I shook their hands when they came in, it was like a popsicle, that cold. And I thanked them for waiting, and I thanked them and welcomed them into their State House and told them to come back and bring more friends.